Are we sure?
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Star Wars Stuff Podcast. My name is David.
My name is James.
That sounded more like a question, James. And my name is Colin.
Well, no, because we never remember to say how are we going to introduce ourselves, and then I was like, well, my face is in the middle, so I guess I should go second. But
there you go.
I am
Yeah.
James. This is where we talk about all things Star Wars, right? Is that the
I
right
would
time?
hope
I
so.
thought you were going to frame it in the form of a question, but okay.
But before we get started, we have some people to thank. So, David, if you do the honors of thanking our amazing patrons.
Yes, thank you to all of our amazing patrons out there. Darth Ace One, that's watching us right now. Liam McCallan, Chris Simpson, Kevin Leininger, Devin McCaffrey, Drew Peters, Zach Netzel, Maya Morris, Samantha Calcala, Adam Haber, Brad Mackey, Front Row King, and Darth Beard. Thank you so much for your awesome love and support out there on Patreon. You're helping us buy equipment for the podcast. You're helping us get to Japan and potentially spend some money in Japan and
Potentially
do a lot of fun stuff. So thank you so much, guys. As I mentioned, yes, Darth Ace One is out there, and he said #Goat Podcast. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, before we go on, it took me many years to realize what the goat meant. Like I would see it and I would just go, "Cool." I never really thought.
Oh,
about
buddy,
what
you just
that
aged
meant.
yourself right there. Damn.
Yeah, I know, but it was just I feel like I could just express my true self on the podcast and let y'all know.
Fair enough.
I didn't know what that
Fair
meant.
enough.
Now I do. So yay, we're good,
Yeah.
right? Let me see this.
Yeah,
pops up.
absolutely. I'm only judging you slightly. I'm just kidding. No.
But and also we have a promotion going on our Instagram. So David, you want to, or Colin, or what do y'all want to talk about that? Somebody?
Yes, if you go to legionsabers.com and use the code STUFF at checkout, you can get 50% off. And if you spend over $300 until Black Friday, you get a free baselit lightsaber.
Yes, which is pretty awesome.
Not only that, do we also want to talk about the giveaway that we're doing? Maybe.
Yes,
Cool.
for sure. We're also doing a giveaway. If you go to Instagram at Star Wars Stuff Pod, which a lot of you guys are members of, we are doing a very special giveaway for a couple of items out there. If you're watching us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, you can see right there clearly there's a Darth Maul lightsaber. It's actually signed by Sam Witwer. And there's also a consolation, a second place for a Jar Jar Binks Funko Pop that is also signed by Ahmed Best, who we met at a couple of cons this year.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. So it's actually SW Stuff Pod. But yeah, 100%. These giveaways are, amazing. They were signed by the actors, which is fantastic. We know, a couple of, fans of the Phantom Menace that would be very excited about this stuff and just in Clone Wars in general. So go and check this stuff out. Go to SW Stuff Pod at Instagram, and you'll find us there. But yeah.
Awesome. And I'm one of those people who's a episode 1 fan who would love to have one of these things because anytime I see episode 1 stuff, I have to get it. I have to just So please check us out on Instagram. Of course, we'll have all the information in the show notes as well. And check us out there, and hopefully you can get this nice lightsaber. So we are toward the end of November, which means we are very, very close to Skeleton Crew, which I'm not going to lie, David and I and Colin, we'd always say, oh, that's going to get here before you know it. It's going to be here before you know it. It's here. It's already here before I even realized it. So, today we're going to talk about everything we know so far about Skeleton Crew. And if we are, I'm pumped. I'm so excited for this new show, this new series. David, if you want to get us started on what we know so far about Skeleton Crew.
So we've been talking about it for a while now. It was shot a while back now. I'm thinking 2022. We're on the verge of hitting 2025. And it was supposed to be a series on Disney Plus that was going to debut before we got the Acolyte, but then they flip-flopped the release schedule. Then, of course, all the stuff that went down in the world with strikes, the writer's strike, actor strike. So everything was kind of pushed back. We know it's the second most expensive TV show in the history of TV after The Rings of Power, which is pretty interesting and impressive. We know Chris Ford and John Watts are the creators, the showrunners, writers, directors, along with another slew of directors that are well known, that have done some pretty unique stuff. Let me read the synopsis here right quick. So there's been a lot of marketing lately. There's a little banner that Lucasfilm put out. So the synopsis on Wikipedia is 4 children end up on an adventure to make their way home after being lost in the galaxy following a discovery they make on their home planet.
And that's it.
So yeah, when we first found out about this, Colin and I, we went to London, Star Wars Celebration. We saw the very first trailer that they released, and it was very, very dark in brightness and as well as tone, which was very interesting. And of course, we all saw the little blue guy walking around, and that's the only thing I could think of for a while. Colin was sitting right next to me. I turned to Colin. I was like, "Oh my god, like your prayers have been answered, Colin." We were getting like a blue elephant.
A Max Rebo origin story. What?
Oh, man, yeah, no, I freaked out, and then we recently got the news that it was not the same species as Max Rebo. It is not an Ortolan, unfortunately. And this made me, not upset, but kind of like to the set point of where it was like, okay, why on earth would you make create a species that looks exactly like Max Rebo? Maybe not exactly. There are some differences, but why would you do that to make the audience think that it was gonna, be like the same species? Like, why on earth would you do that? So I'm just okay. Please, please tell me. Please tell me, because I've got some stories too that I have heard as well, and I'm just blown away why we didn't get what we got. But anyways, go.
So there's a big slew of media interviews, roundtables that were done for Skeleton Crew by the creators and the actors. John Watts was asked this question specifically: is this an Ortolan? Is this Max Rebo's species? This new character Neil that we see as one of the 4 main character kids in the show. He said that initially they wanted an Ortolan as a part of the cast. But through the pre-production, the development of the show, they figured it's not going to work properly for their character. And funny enough, we've had this argument / discussion / topic on the show many a time. I think we even had a special podcast dedicated to it. If Max Rebo has more than 2 limbs or whatever. They had that argument too. And that was brought up as well. He can't be an Ortolan because of the limb situation, which is still a little foggy. And we all know about the Kenner story where they gave him the 4 limbs when they created the action figure and all that. And the original design only had 2 limbs or whatever. But I mean, when you look at the character in Return of the Jedi, I know I'm going on a rant here, but it looks like he has like arms. It doesn't look like legs. But anyways, so that's why they figured out the anatomy of the character had to be the way it was, because they cast an actor and they wanted him as much on the set and as much of him in frame as they could possibly do. So if you do see behind the scenes footage, sometimes he's actually wearing like a mask helmet of the blue elephant species creature, and sometimes he has dots on his face. So they kind of did both things. So that's the best answer I think we have to this point. If that's
Are you satisfied with that answer, Colin? Or
so I've also heard some other behind the scenes stuff, which again, I don't know why they didn't do this, but one of the original ideas was to make Neil green, which I would have been fine with, because of then we wouldn't have had the debate of being like, is he the same species or is he not? That would have been so simple, but instead they made it complicated. And for months, we were all debating, especially me. It was the, same, right. And then my friend who knows things was like, it's It is not the same species. I'm telling you now, which made me prepared for when we actually got the official news. But I was just like, why on earth would you do that? Why on earth would you make it look like the same species? And I know we've been ranting about this for maybe about 5 minutes now, but it's just like, guys, come on. Like,
I will say this though, Colin. If he was the green, everybody would just be saying, "Oh, you're just trying to ride the coattails of Grogu. Like you're just because Grogu is green, you're gonna have another cute creature that's also green." And everybody
could have been red for all I care. Why on earth make him blue? Why on earth would you do the same thing?
The lightsaber colors, blue and green. Good. It means a good person. So blue means good. See, it's blue.
Compare this to Neil, and they look very similar. Why would you do that? Just why?
All right, so Phil, please send us an answer. We have someone who's very, very upset by your choices, but
I'm not upset. I'm not upset. I want to be very clear. I'm not upset. I'm just disappointed. There's a difference.
All right. So I love the fact, because David, going back, David read the synopsis. It's very simple. It's a very simple story, and which gives so much room for fun, like for fun moments. And I am beyond excited for this show. And one thing I read, I know I'm kind of jumping in on David here, but one thing I read was the characters in the show know who the Jedi are, but they look at them like we look at the Legend of King Arthur and things like that. Like they think of the Jedi as these legends. And so there's a moment in the show, one of the creators said, where they're playing with pretend lightsabers, but they don't know what lightsabers sound like. And so they have to make their own sound effects for it. And I'm like, that is such a great detail because they haven't watched Star Wars. They've never seen a lightsaber in person. So yeah, it's so much fun. It sounds like so much fun, this show. And and we know a few more things if David wants to take over so I can stop talking.
Yeah, going to what you just said, James, it's almost like they made their home planet a lot like our Earth in a way. There's suburbia, there's a legend of these things. The kids go out on their speeder bikes, very, very reminiscent of E.T. And we've talked about it so much about Amblin Films and Goonies, and the creators, John Watts, Chris Ford, have referenced Goonies a couple times, but they've also referenced old pirate serials that they were influenced by. And it's funny because one of the guys that's actually helping them show run or create Skeleton Crew actually just worked with Jude Law on something very pirate-esque. And so when it came back around for Jude Law to do this, he was basically kind of in the same role, working for the same person in a way.
Nice.
But Jude Law's very fired up for this. He seems like he's really into it. He's really into being in Star Wars. He's excited. There's a couple of clips I'm about to play here where he kind of talks about his experience. And I love it when these big names are really excited to be in Star Wars and are really in it. And they even had the comment that he was constantly smiling on set. And that would totally be me. If I was on set working on Star Wars, I would be constantly smiling because of all the stuff that I'm seeing, all the people that I'm working with. I mean, it's an incredible thing. So the next thing that I want to bring up here is a graphic that shows who the writers are, directors, who's starring, and the composer, which is interesting. Of course, we mentioned John Watts, Christopher Ford, the creators. The writers, of course, are Ford and Watts, and someone named Myung Joe Wesner, which is kind of the first time I've actually heard his name. But he's with episodes 5 and 6. The directors are John Watts for episodes 1 and 8, David Lowery for episodes 2 and 3, the Daniels, which I think everyone is kind of familiar with them. They directed and created the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Right.
And they won the Academy Award, I think, for best. Did they win for best directors?
They won best director. I believe they won best screenplay as well for Everything Everywhere All at Once. So they are
and best picture, right?
Yeah, and best picture. They are tremendous filmmakers. Yeah.
Right. And they were actually involved before all that took place because they weren't even like that. They weren't what they are now, is extremely like award winning and famous, essentially.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Jake Schreier for episode 5, Bryce Dallas Howard, who we all know and love, episode 6, and Lee Isaac Chung for episode 7. And of course, John Watts is doing the first and last episode, 1 and 8. Yeah. The composer is Michael Giacchino's son.
Yeah.
And that's an incredible thing, man. Michael Giacchino, his father, he totally impressed me with Werewolf by Night. It felt so kind of almost silly in a way that they're like, okay, Michael Giacchino is going to direct something for Marvel. And I'm like, okay, how's this going to turn out? It was fantastic. I can't believe how great that turned out. And he hosts panels as well. Yeah. Hopefully he hosts something in Japan. But I know Colin's talked about Mick in the past.
Yeah. We were talking about in the last episode that me and Zach did. Because of we were that news just came out like not that day, I think maybe like the day before, but I was very excited because of his dad did Rogue One, and I just kind of love like how he's passing on the Star Wars baton to his like son and being like, all right, let's see what you can do. And we all know that it's going to be great. I'm excited. So the beauty about Star Wars is, yes, you've got the story and everything, but the music has always been important to almost every Star Wars project that has come out, because that is the way that, it draws us in. Just throughout like, TV show and cinema in general, when the music kind of makes the scene or something seem bigger than it is, then they're winning. Look at Back to the Future, for example. It is a person in a car trying to get back. You add the giant theme to that movie and it makes it on a whole other level. And John Williams did that throughout Star Wars, throughout Indiana Jones and all that. And then, once we had the new Star Wars projects coming in, like The Mandalorian, Solo, Rogue One, Andor, every composer that has come on board has done the exact same thing. And I'm really excited to see it in the show, because this whole show is going to be taking us back to the old days. It's going to feel like we're all, that we're all kids again, watching a TV show from the 80s. And I cannot wait. And the music is what really ties everything together, that brings everything and just all together. So I am so excited. And I can't believe it's next week, guys. It comes out next week, which is insane.
Yeah, like I said, it's here. It's already here before we realize it. And I love that you said that, the 80s. And what's really great about this show at Skeleton Crew, and y'all have noticed it, is Lucasfilm is really promoting this. Lucasfilm has been putting out stuff almost every day. And I don't know if you saw this week, and they released an old VHS type promotional. And
I love it.
Static was
so
there.
good.
I was like, oh my gosh, this is so great.
Yeah.
The cheesy voiceover talking about it. And I'm like, man,
it had the kids fighting with the fake lightsabers and stuff too, and I was like, take me back.
They didn't really do a lot of this for the Acolyte. There really wasn't that big push for the Acolyte's premiere and everything. And so it feels like Lucasfilm is very confident with this one to end the year off for them on Disney Plus. And I only say that because, we got the round table with the directors and the writers, which I was like, man, they've never done this before. A show like Mandalorian never did this. Ahsoka never did this.
That is true. Yeah.
Law on podcast talking about Star Wars, and you're like, whoa, okay, Drew Law is just talking. Okay, they that really never happened. So it feels like Lucasfilm is pretty happy with this, and they know it's great. And they're giving us a lot of great things to be excited for, which, again, that's what we're talking about. So, David, what else you got for us with what we know?
So going back to that graphic there, of course, we have starring Jude Law, who we've all known all along. And his name, I don't think many people are familiar with it, but it's Jod Nahnawood, which is an interesting name. But he did reveal in a interview that he goes by several names. And one of those names that was revealed was, I guess this is like a mild spoiler, but it's almost like a nickname, I would think, Crimson Jack.
Ooh.
Yes. And I think we did talk about that recently.
Yeah, we talked about it in past in a couple of podcasts.
Yeah. Because that was a name of a character in Legends. So that's pretty cool. And I love it when they do bring in, like, this is a tie-in, but it's not like a big tie-in, and I just love like this kind of subtle hints to the old canon. There's also a big chance that we're probably gonna see one of my favorite pirates, at least, which is Hondo Ohnaka, in the big trailer that was released a couple of weeks back. When you actually see like the big space station of where like the ship is docking, you can actually see a ship that looks very similar to Hondo Ohnaka's from Smuggler's Run. So it's like if we see Hondo, I'm all in. That would be awesome. Hands down, would be sick.
There have been so many great opportunities to bring Hondo in, and they haven't.
Yeah,
so
I know.
I'm going to be very I'm not going to look forward to that. I'm not going to be anticipating that. If it happens, I'll be surprised.
Right.
I'm not going to.
I know. I know. For the Book of Boba Fett, to me, that would have been a great place to to put him in, but they didn't. To me, this is another perfect opportunity because of Hondo Ohnaka has gone on these really weird, wacky adventures. This is one of those types of stories, and this reminds me of the time in the Clone Wars of where him and his crew took over that ship full of younglings and stuff like that. This is kind of like, okay, Hondo would be like, oh my goodness, please don't do this again. Like, I could just see him just kind of going. Yeah, I could just see him like just going like kind of back and just kind of bringing that vibe. I would love if Hondo showed up. I would love if throughout the entire show, you had the Pirate Vane and a couple other people seem like they're answering to someone else, and then the person that they're answering to turns out to be Hondo. It'd be like, oh, that's so cool. Like, I mean, come on.
It works. You're right. It absolutely works.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna put my.
I know.
Because I've been disappointed already in the past. But
yeah.
But yeah, Hondo showing up would be really great. And well, who else we got on the cast? But I will say, Crimson Jack is like the most pirate name ever. You know what I mean? Like with the old pirate movies back in the day. That sounds like a great pirate name. And
I still think it's funny that you've got Jude Law, who played Captain Hook, is now coming into Star Wars, and he's playing another pirate. And not only that, you have Nick Frost, who is doing the voice of SM-33, which is a clear Easter egg to Shmi from Peter Pan. So it's just funny, like of just how all of that like kind of ties in. And in one of the episodes from the last season of The Mandalorian that came out, we actually had a lot of different pirate references. There was actually a pirate in that episode that was wearing a very similar outfit to the pirate Smee from Peter Pan. So it's just funny that we're getting more and more of these different pirate Easter eggs. But I can't wait. It's going to be so cool, and it's just going to feel, like something very familiar but different at the same time.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Crimson Jack.
So yeah, going back to the cast here, Ravi Cabot Conyers is Wim, who I think has been featured in most of the trailers and commercials. Ryan Kira Armstrong as Fern, who is kind of like it seems like she's really kind of like the Tatum O'Neal type character when she, I believe she won an Oscar for her role when she was younger. Ryan Kira Armstrong is Fern. I believe, Fern and KB, played by Kiriana Crater. They're kind of best friends, and Wim and Neil, who's played by Robert Timothy Smith, who's the Ortolan looking character, are best friends. So it's like two pairs of best friends hanging out. Tunde Adebimpe, he is, I believe, Wim's father. Kerry Condon plays Farah, who is Fern's mother, and I think we're going to see a lot of them together, kind of looking for their kids. And of course, Nick Frost, like we mentioned, is playing SM33. He's the voice. I don't think he does any of the mocap stuff. And it's also including Marty Matulis, who plays Vane, who we've seen in the Book of Boba Fett, Mando Season 3. Jaleel White as Gunter, who rose to 90s fame as Steve Urkel on Family Matters. Fred Tatasciore as Brutus, who I think is one of my favorite creatures from the Cantina, the Wolfman, who was replaced in the special editions, but I think
he looks so
Lots
cool.
brought him back.
Dude, he looks. Oh my! I mean, not only like like of the species, but I love how he's got the. I believe he's carrying like 6 blasters, so like 3 on his back, maybe like one giant one. I mean 3 on his front, 1 on his back, and I think he's got like 2 holsters on his side. And it's just like, geez, man, like what's going on there? But he just looks like a tank, and I can't wait to see him in action.
Yeah, he's a dual wielder. We've seen him in the trailer firing both blasters simultaneously through some corridor, but also his eyes. If you remember way back in the original Star Wars, his eyes glowed red. And the way they achieved that was practically on set. So his eyes are glowing a little bit red. I think they're enhanced a little bit in post, but when you're on set, I mean, that's a super menacing creature. Also, we have Mike Estes as Pax and Dale Souls as Chelt. And of course, the schedule you see on the right-hand side. Episodes 1 and 2 are going to drop December 3rd, which will be pretty much a week from today. We'll be doing our pre-show at this time next week. And we do know the runtime. The runtime combined between episodes 1 and 2 is a little over an hour. So it's about 76 minutes with the credits. So,
that's not bad.
Yeah, then episode 3 is going to be December 10th, episode 4, December 17th, episode 5, December 24th, which is, of course, Christmas Eve. Episode 6 will be New Year's Eve, December 31st. Episode 7 will be January 7th. Episode 8 will be January 14th. So it all wraps up mid-January.
And
that's pretty cool.
What time is it dropping? Do we know? Is it going to be the 6:30 drop, or is it going to be the midnight?
It's going to be the Ahsoka time. Okay, it's 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard, and then of course 5 Pacific for James over there.
I'm gonna have a nice early viewing of it. I'm gonna be so excited. Everybody just
that hasn't been officially confirmed, but I think that's the popular assumption. Said anywhere.
Because you want the kids to watch it. You want families to all be able to sit down and watch it. And why would you drop it at midnight when nobody, can do it? I think they did that for was it Bad Batch? They dropped it at midnight or something?
So they would have it to where it would come out like 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then which I just don't get why they would just. I mean, I'm with you, because if I would be the same way, I would because of when Book of Boba Fett was coming out and Andor as well, I would have to get to work like just after 5 o'clock. So I would wake up early, watch the episode, go to work, and then I would come home, and then we would podcast, and they would just do it first thing in the morning, and we're just like, geez.
I think David's right. I think we are correct to assume that it will be an earlier in the evening release, so everybody could watch it. And I really hope all the episodes are long. I really hope we don't get.
I don't think that's happening. They're all going to be around the 30-minute time frame.
What is wrong? Anyway,
I don't know. That's one of the few things that they really need to kind of. That's like major.
I think it's wild because if this is the second most expensive show, it's like, okay, great. But then you jump to Rings of Power, which is the which is the number 1 most expensive show, and each episode is like an hour or at least over an hour. Yeah. So it's just like, give us more, like,
money go,
please.
Yeah, there's so much to explore in the galaxy with these kids and the ship.
So much, man.
So let me ask you this question, both of you: how many episodes have we seen in the trailer? Do you think? Like realistically, the trailers we've seen, because we're all kind of in the same area. We haven't really gone far in the trailers.
Honestly, I think we've seen all of it. I will say this. I didn't like how we saw the treasure room. I think that should have been something that was like probably withheld, because that's probably near the end, because of the whole show is, most likely is going to be leading up to that moment. So I don't like how we saw that already. Hopefully I'm wrong. I would love to be wrong, but my guess is okay, good. I'm fine with that. But
yeah.
But if you look back at Goonies and all those types of movies, it all leads up to we have found the treasure. Something will go wrong in the temple. We have to escape, and then you have the end. So hopefully I'm wrong. I'm fine with being wrong, but that's how it's looking to me. If they're following the classic Amblin Studio vibe, just saying. But yeah.
Because I think what we're seeing is almost like I think we've only seen the first 4 episodes, at least. I think that's all we've seen, maybe 5. I think the treasure room that we're looking at, I think, is like around episode 4 or 5, which means the last episodes are going to be about a whole plot point we have no idea about. I think there is a key in the treasure room that is going to unlock something even bigger for the last couple of episodes. So
I'm fine with that. That would be great.
When I saw the treasure room, I was a little like, oh, that they're just going to show us the ending already.
Right.
But then I started thinking, wait, no, because this could be just a little like, oh, cool. And then we find the thing, and then now we get to go. And then maybe there's like other treasures within that room that could set up something later on. Like maybe other people are looking for other things in that treasure room.
I'm with you on that, but also if you look at the trailers for Rise of Skywalker and the first trailer for like season 1 of The Mandalorian, we did have some shots in there that were from the very last episode. And then for Rise of Skywalker, you also had like the shot of where they're riding the space horses. That's in the final battle in the movie of Rise of Skywalker. So, they could be jumping back and forth. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm just letting you know. I'm hoping you're right, because I would love to see more of that. I would love it to be where it is predictable, but not so predictable where I'm gonna guess everything happening. So here's hoping.
What do you think, David? The treasure room that we see in the trailer, where do you think that's at?
I don't think that's the bitter end. I think that's kind of maybe the middle or towards the beginning of the show, actually. Because I think once that happens, then the next big thing, the real thing why this show was written is gonna take place. I don't think it's gonna be that on the nose, but maybe that treasure ends up being kind of like the side quest for the whole show in a way, and maybe that is the end, and maybe we do all kinds of stuff beforehand, and then they finally kind of like, oh, okay. Yeah, we discovered the treasure like we all kind of like planned to and set out for, and we ended up here.
I just love that we know there's a treasure. We know there, but we have no idea why. We have no idea the purpose of the room. We have no idea why these pirates are chasing these kids. Like we have an idea in the trailer, like they have money, but it's like, no, there's more to it than that. We have no idea the actual plot of this show. And I am so excited about that. That hasn't leaked at all. You know what I mean? We knew there was a child in Mandalorian, and there was the rumor that there are creatures that look like Yoda, but nobody had an idea of what it was. So we were all kind of anticipating a child, but then when it came up to be Grogu, that was a nice surprise. But this one, we have no idea. So, I mean, unless David, do you have ideas that you're not telling us right now? Because if you are, I don't want to hear.
I haven't heard anything. I don't know what the subplots, the hidden stuff. I don't know anything about the secret characters or any of the Easter eggs that are about to be dropped on us. I'm kind of making somewhat of assumptive guesses here, but do you remember in the trailer when they paid with like old Republic credits?
Yes.
So there is a lot of talk out there that this show is somehow, some way going to tie back to the Old Republic in some way, shape, or form. which I could totally see.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But that's just kind of an educated guess off of those credits. And then like some people are claiming they know stuff, but they're not sources that I've ever found to be trustworthy. But the thing we do know is the timeline. So if you look at the timeline that they dropped back in London there, it starts at Dawn of the Jedi and goes all the way to New Jedi Order. And of course, we are in the part of the timeline for the Skeleton Crew between the New Republic and Rise of the First Order. So apparently there's a 30-year gap that they're working, and we just don't know what particular year it takes place in. But our assumption is after the events of The Mandalorian season 3, because of course we get Bane. So that's kind of the most educated thing we know.
So here's another great question for you and for everyone listening. Are we going to see Mandalorian and Grogu in this show? Is Grogu going to make an appearance? Because Grogu equals money for Star Wars.
Yeah, I could. So here's the thing: is that I could definitely see it to where, you know, they're in the ends of the show. There's a big battle going on. Something like really rough is happening to where maybe the heroes are going to lose. The New Republic is seen in the trailers because we see X-Wings, and we know that Din Djarin is doing exclusive jobs with them to like try and, take down the reminiscence of the Empire. So I could see them being like, hey, there's something going on here. It's fishy. Hey, Din, we're tagging you in. And then he, shows up. He shows up at his new Razor Crest. That would be really cool to like get an introduction to his new ship in this. Because we know that he has a new ship now. So I could definitely see that happening, especially on this high budget. I mean, why not do that? And that would draw more people in. You were absolutely right. If we got into maybe like the second to last episode and he shows up, I just know all the memes coming in and being like, wow, Din Djarin is stealing the show again. Like I could see that happening because of that's what he did with the Book of Boba, but who knows? Yeah.
I want the Millennium Falcon to show up. I mean, this is about pirates. I mean, come on. Bring it. Lando.
Lando would be really cool to see. Going back to Hondo, he's actually going to have his own story and the new Star Wars game, Star Wars Outlaws. So he's got his DLC coming up in the beginning of next year. And if they did bring Hondo, it would be cool to see Lando because Lando is also in Star Wars Outlaws. And, even if they did something with Donald Glover, I could see that. I would love that. But,
wild. That'd be crazy if they've been keeping him a secret this whole time and he shows up as Lando. That would be, that'd be pretty cool. But seeing the Millennium Falcon, that'd be the best. But then it's like, okay, now I know why the budget went why it was so expensive because you had to digitally de-age or digitally, do.
You don't even have to show anyone that's piloting the Falcon. Just have the voice.
I would scream. I would scream if I saw Chewie. Like, could you imagine, like, if there's a firefight, we see the Falcon, they land, the thing opens, and maybe it's just Chewie and Lando, and Han Solo is with Leia or something like that, somewhere else. But sorry, go on. Yeah, no, that would be insane. That would honestly be incredible. That would draw in a lot of people, and it would definitely be exciting. So exciting if we saw the Millennium Falcon. Is it going to happen? I give it maybe a 30-40% chance.
I give it a 2% chance we're going to see the Millennium Falcon. If we are going to ever see the Millennium Falcon, it's going to be in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie or one of those other movies that are going to be coming out around that era. I couldn't see them doing that.
I would really want to see Dash Rendar from the old from the old days, from Legends. I think seeing the Outrider would be super cool.
And
I don't think it's going to happen, but
this is the show to do it. This is the pirates. This is what people are like. Oh my gosh, all those bounty hunters and all those other characters that we've seen, and the old, the Legends, as well as like things we saw in Clone Wars and the people we got introduced to, can totally come into this and play a part. And I just love that it's wide open, and the guys who created this show are huge fans. They're huge Star Wars fans, and so they know that, so we'll see about that. But yeah, seeing the Millennium Falcon would be the ultimate, but I don't think so.
Well, we know we are getting some references from the holiday special, and we are getting some references from the Ewok movies. Like, could you imagine if Chewie opens like the like the conveyor thing comes down, and then it's Chewie with his family, and they're like, I'm just kidding. I would laugh if that happened, but the
background,
the possibilities are endless, guys. They really are. But
I agree. But I mean, seeing Grogu would make sense for me, like to show him popping up. I agree with Colin. They would make fun of that so bad. Everybody on the internet would make fun of that. Seeing Hera, also a possibility, coming in to save the day, because she is in charge of that part of the Republic. There are X-Wings flying around, so seeing the Ghost coming in to help out with something would also be a thing that they could do with this.
That would be.
I have a feeling they would have to do something like that to show people this is going to be connected, because we know that Bounty Hunter is in Mandalorian season 3 as well as in this.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I'm not making fun of the general audience, but a lot of people are not going to put that together, that is what's happening. So I have a feeling we need to show somebody from one of those other shows in
I
here.
got you. Yeah. I'm telling you, the person that will probably show up, and I would be very shocked if he didn't, would be Carson. Because he is like the Phil Coulson of this entire.
He's like the Stan Lee of this whole thing. He just keeps popping up. You're like, oh, there he is.
Yes. So it would make sense if he showed up. He probably wouldn't have like a big like involvement, but as soon as I saw the X-Wings in the trailer, I was like, dude, Carson's probably just leading that fight right there. I guarantee you.
watch his Filoni and a Rick Famuyiwa, Deborah Chow flying. That'd be.
Well, so I'm not sure if you guys have read this yet, but in this book it says Carson normally flies with Trapper Wolf. So,
right, we might see Filoni there. That'd be pretty cool. But yeah, what else do we know? I know we keep going everywhere. We thank y'all for watching and listening, everybody. But what else do we know, David?
All right, I got a trivia question for you guys.
Colin, you got this.
Oh, flashbacks
between James and Colin. Don't look at chat, guys. So, what was the code name for Skeleton Crew before it was called Skeleton Crew?
Oh, I don't know this one. I'm just gonna be honest with you.
I talked about it a lot on the podcast years and years ago.
Did talk about it.
Oh, years ago. Okay, I thought you meant like recently.
Oh,
no,
it was something like. What was it? I can't remember. You're gonna say it, and I want to remember what it was. It was
I'll give you.
I would just say it.
Yeah, it was a title of a Simpsons episode.
Oh, never mind. Well, hey, just tell us, what was it?
I'll give you a second hint. We kept on saying radio.
Not Radiohead. It was something else, right?
Everyone that's listening to is screaming. It was Grammar Rodeo.
Grammar Rodeo?
Yeah. Okay.
You guys don't remember that?
No, now I thought it was something else completely. Grammar Radio was what it was called. Why?
I think Grammar Radio and Ghost Track 17 were like the two big code names that dropped a long time ago.
All right.
But yeah, it was named after, I think, one of John Watts' favorite. Well, I don't know if it was his favorite, but that Simpsons episode, it's all about Bart and his friends, his school friends, going on like a little adventure together.
Oh, okay.
That's why he named it Grammar
Radio. That's pretty cool. That's pretty clever.
So,
well, geez. Yeah. Okay, now, yep, you heard it here, everybody. David just reminded us how dumb we are. I'm just kidding. No, but yeah, remember radio.
Hey, I didn't remember until today. I was like,
okay.
oh my gosh, I totally remember that now, but I would have never brought it up on the podcast. But going back to your conversation you just had about possible cameos, Easter eggs, that's all been kind of talked about and brought up with these roundtables and these interviews with all these different outlets. But if they were to make the most fun Star Wars show with these 4 kids and Jude Law with all these cool things on screen, how big do you think Skeleton Crew could get? And I'm thinking about, like, could it get to like the Stranger Things level?
Jeez.
Or could it get half of that level? I mean, how big do you think this show could get with young people? Because
interesting.
When you look at Skeleton Crew, they're not calling it a limited series. They're not calling it anything like that. So this thing can actually continue on, even though there's been a few years now between them shooting this and when they would shoot the next episodes. Because I think all the kids are about age 12, and they all play 10-year-olds, I believe. So they would have to jump a little ways into the future if they did continue this.
So here's the thing, is that I'm not going into this with the same mindset that I had for Acolyte or The Mandalorian, where I was there for the main plot, right? Where I was like, okay, this will be a serious story. Things will be happening in the future. With Skeleton Crew, I have the mindset of being taken back to the vibe of the 80s and having a good time. I'm not having that same mindset as I did with the other shows. If it does great, fantastic. Which I think it will, but I'm not taking it to that serious level that I was going in with Acolyte, where I was like, this is a big part of Star Wars where it's going to be helping the plot moving forward. I don't think the plot is going to be like that for the show. I think it is going to feel not like a kind of side mission or anything like that. I think it's just going to be its own thing happening in the Star Wars universe. I don't think it's going to help the plot of The Mandalorian go forward. I don't think it's going to be, you know, huge Easter eggs to the sequel era or something where, you know, it explains how the Emperor has returned or anything like that. I think it is just going to be a very, you know, campy and fun show. I think that is what the show is going to be.
See, I don't think it's going to be campy at all. I think it's going to be like really dark. That's what I get from the trailer. And John Watts has said it. This is not really a kid show. This is going to be darker than what you think. That I think a lot of people
don't think on the level. I don't think on the level of Stranger Things. I don't think so. I think it is going to feel like an 80s show. I think that's the premise that I'm getting from it, from all the trailers, from like all of it. It's even got a song from the 80s in it, just dubbed with the language of the Hutts. So it's just like, I'm not taking it seriously to the level of The Mandalorian with those other stories. I think this is a fun. And when I mean campy, I mean more like, you know, where I'm not using it as a bad term. I'm using it more as, you know, fun. Because when I look back at the Ewok movies and the holiday special, I look at, you know, like, this is fun. I'm enjoying myself and having a good time. It's funny. It's great. That's how I'm taking this show. I'm not taking it to the serious level as The Mandalorian. I could be wrong, but from the trailers and everything that I've read and from the interviews that I've heard, that is what I'm taking from it. And from most of the people I have talked to, that's the same way that they're taking it as well.
I don't know.
You guys see that scene of that one like big mechanical like set of jaws eating the ship that the kids are in?
Yeah.
It's like a really quick shot, but it's like, wow.
So Stranger Things, I think it surprised all of us. I think we all had an idea of what we were getting into, but then the story just grew so much bigger than what we were anticipating. Yeah. And that's what I think the draw was. We saw the kids, we immediately enjoyed, you know, these characters and what was going to happen. With this, I mean, David, that's crazy. I never thought about this becoming that level of like popularity of a show within Star Wars that we are all like, oh my gosh, I gotta see the next season. Like there, we gotta see the third we gotta see the fourth season. I've always just thought of this as just a single season show that was gonna lead into the movies. But the fact
are you thinking it's going to be like the next Mandalorian? Is that the level that you're thinking of what the show is going to be?
I think David's asking if it's going to be because Stranger Things was huge. I think Stranger Things was maybe bigger than Mandalorian was.
Right.
So
I just find that interesting because we're looking at the trailers.
That's an interesting poll question, I think, because I mean, what's bigger, the Mandalorian or Stranger Things? I mean, with Grogu and the Mandalorian, you think that is not bigger than Stranger Things?
No,
you think Stranger Things is bigger than.
I'm trying to jump away from Stranger Things. I'm David, I'm asking you, do you think that this show is going to be like the next Mandalorian? Because it sounds like you have a lot riding on this for like being big.
No. I'm just asking a simple question. What do you guys think? Okay. I don't have anything writing on it. I mean, this is just the next Disney plus Star Wars. But I mean, you see some of these clips with these kids. I mean, they're pretty quick-witted and the dialogue is pretty good, and it feels like they're acting older than what they really are. And it's like, man, if that to me was kind of like what Stranger Things was. I know there's not a lot of subscribers, not as many as Netflix has, but I mean, this could potentially be a pretty big thing, possibly, because I mean, it's for kids. You think about the progression of kids growing up and watching the sequels, and then they're older now and they've been around Star Wars. They see all the cool stuff. And then they get a show where they have actors their age, and maybe that blows up there with that. So I was just kind of curious what you guys thought.
It's wild to think that could become something big. This could become Mandalorian, Stranger Things big. These kids could become household names. Like, look at Cal Kestis. We didn't know who Cal Kestis was 10 years ago. Cal Kestis comes out in a video game, and we were all like, he is a Star Wars character. He is a Jedi in Star Wars. And we've all just, the name Cal Kestis is now just solidified in Star Wars. These four kids could possibly also be that. And I haven't thought about it that way. I've just been thinking about it as just the show, season 1. We're going to get from the beginning to the end. We're going to get some really cool things. But the fact that it could be that is pretty crazy. And Darth Beard says with the Lost in Space 5, he can bring it into Ahsoka 2 if season 1 breaks. Yeah, I agree, because Ahsoka season 2 is off the other galaxy. We don't know where the kids are. I mean, the kids could be over there, which I don't know about that. But yeah, there's a lot of possibilities for what could happen with these kids, with this storyline. And
so I could see it going that way of where, they have it end to where it could be like Lost in Space, and somehow they, end up getting in a predicament where like their hyperdrive is like boosted somehow with maybe some type of special treasure, and they're about to go home, but then they get launched into the same galaxy as Ahsoka. So that way, for some reason, if the show would not do well for some reason, they would be able to still continue with those characters, because now they would be in the same galaxy as Ahsoka and Sabine, and maybe that would be their way of kind of bringing these characters into the fold of where they're in the big Dave Filoni Avengers type style Star Wars movie that they're planning on doing.
I will say this though, if they do end it with going to the other galaxy with Ahsoka and Sabine, it would be kind of sad, because in the trailer we have the mom and the father say we're gonna get them back. We have to find our kids and bring them back. So if you end it that way, they don't get to see their parents. The parents don't have their kids back. We don't have a homecoming. I want it to be. Here's what I want to happen.
That's a keyword.
What was that?
That's a keyword.
Yeah. Oh.
Homecoming.
Didn't think about that. Oh, I see what you did there. Anyways, so I want them to come home, see their family, see their, because it looks like there's a strain with the dad and the son. It looks like there's an issue with their relationship. That he comes back, it's all good, but then there's just that one last bit at the very end where it's like, we need your help. for this, which is every kid's dream in Star Wars, where the adults come up to you, or they're like, hey, you did really good here, we're gonna need your help on this thing, and he goes off on the next adventure. That for me would be the perfect ending, because we'd all be like, ooh, what are they gonna get into next?
Right.
I don't want it to end with them still lost. I think that would just be a very sad ending for me.
Right. But also maybe that might be how they fill in that plot of being like, how does Ahsoka and Sabine get back? Because of the new shit.
Rescue them.
Right. That would be cool. That would be honestly cool, where they would do it by accident of being like, okay, we're in this new galaxy. How about we go here? And it's the planet Paradia, and they land down and they see Ahsoka and Sabine. They look confused, and then they're like, well, we know a way back. I mean, like, we got here by accident. Maybe you can take a look at it, and Sabine and Hugh Yang fix it, and then they go back, and then that leads into the big Avengers type style movie that Dave Filoni is working on.
That's wild. What's great about this is that works. What I said works. And the reason we're saying that is because we have no idea what's going to happen in this show. We have no idea where this is going to go. And I think that's what makes it so much fun is we don't know. So let me ask you this quick question, which is, are we going to get an opening crawl? Not crawl, if you may. Are we going to get words on a screen?
Opening text.
Are we going to get an opening text, or are we just going to, David and I kind of talked about it the other day, which is, are we going to get like a holovid, like, moment where they're all in school watching, Leia Organa and Han Solo and Luke Skywalker save the galaxy by blowing up the, what I mean? Are we going to get that, or are we going to get words on a screen at the very beginning? Or is it just going to be a huge info dump the first 20 minutes?
Well,
just boom, this is happening, and we're all like, oh, we know.
I think they had to flip the script. I really think they need to flip the script on that. Go back to the OG days of where they would jump to the crawl, and then maybe have their own twist to it, to where like we're seeing the crawl as an audience, and then jumps to them in the classroom, and then you have Neil that's probably just kind of just like dazing off like this, and he's trying not to fall asleep or something. I mean, I don't know, but I think something like that would be cool. Yes, I think that would be cool. Of like that, that would be a really cool like kind of callback. Absolutely.
What do you think, David?
So what I'm about to say here is very sacrilegious, but
oh no,
dump the crawl completely. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. We don't need the crawl anymore, guys. We're in the year 2024. Instead of like having us read, show us the crawl. Show us have a prologue, just like Lord of the Rings, man.
What?
David, I don't even know who you are anymore.
Lucas couldn't afford it back then. They couldn't afford it back then, but now we can. It's the second most expensive TV show of all time.
That 100% works.
The crawl.
That 100% works.
Show us the end of the Death Star 2, in a different vantage point, and have the dad be involved somehow.
We did get that in the very first episode of season 2 of The Mandalorian, because we got the viewpoint of Cobb Vanth of when the second Death Star blow up. Like we saw it blow up and then it jumped to the hologram.
Though. Yeah.
Right. But from that point of view, it showed the Falcon leaving and explodes, right? And then it jumps from the hologram and we see it's a hologram.
And that helps the audience get in the right mind space too, where they're at in time.
Yeah, because the thing is, nobody knows where this is. Us crazy people, we know where this is going to be. Everyone else, the general
Speak for yourself,
has no idea. And I always go back to whenever Luke, season 2 finale, Luke Skywalker shows up at the end of Mandalorian. I had so many friends at my work ask me, how is Luke still alive? Isn't he dead? And I said, oh my gosh, you've been in the wrong timeline this entire years. And
I get that.
I explained it to them where it was. They were like, oh, now all of that makes sense. Why there's stormtroopers, why there's this. And I was like,
yeah,
you need to tell people where you are, because
that's what happened. Yep. Yeah, no, dude, I get it, because that's what happened with season 1 of The Mandalorian. As soon as that first episode came out, I remember going back to work like the next day after that first episode came out, and people were just like, so where's Finn? Where's Rey? And I'm just like, takes place during that 30-year like timeline from Return of the Jedi to Force Awakens, and then people were like, how do you know that? And I was like, okay, well, I'm a super nerd, so like, I did my research. But you're right, they should have explained that, like before going in, because not everyone is gonna know that. So if they do kind of explain things in the opening, I think that would be great. They have been doing that because they did that with Andor. I think they did that with Rogue One. Well, actually, no, they didn't do that with Rogue One. They did that with Solo. They like where they explained like a thing's going on, and they did that. I think they've only done it a couple of times. Yeah. I was gonna say because they didn't do that with Obi-Wan either. Yeah,
they didn't do it with Kenobi.
No.
And I feel David is onto something, which is you show us the crawl and you kind of show us a little bit of what's been happening in Star Wars, and that I don't know, and just I remember David and I had the idea of like we actually see a physical like timeline and we see the movies episode 1, 2, 3, and like there's clips of each one, and then we get past Return of the Jedi, and then you see the Force Awakens, and then you kind of just like pan down, and then there's the plot, and there you see Mandalorian and Grogu and Ahsoka, and you go, oh, this is where we are, because I feel like they need to do that for people, because I just know there's going to be tons of questions. People are going to be wondering what is going on, who is who, why do we care about this point in time?
I agree with that.
So, what do y'all think, people listening? Or if you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple or wherever, leave us a comment and let us know how you would want Lucasfilm to address that, or if you think they should address it at all, which I think they should. Just say
for sure. So the other big thing we know is that this show is in the Favloni universe, of course. We talked about at the beginning of the podcast. The thing that's different about this show is the fact that it wasn't created by Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. They were producers. They were consultants on it. There's a really kind of funny story where they were trying to figure out if there are tassels on bikes in Star Wars.
Oh my God.
And John Watts asked Dave Filoni, hey, are there tassels on bikes in Star Wars? And Dave Filoni's response was, well, there is now.
Yeah.
That's a George Lucas answer if I ever heard one.
As long as we don't get the Power Ranger type colored Vespas from the Book of Boba Fett.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, jeez, man.
Please no. Vespa speeder. But I will say, just in the trailers, I don't know what her name is, but the young girl on her speeder bike, she looks like she's booking it down this road. So okay, I think they've improved the speeder situation from the Book of Boba Fett. Hopefully. And from what I heard, when they were doing No Way Home, Favreau had on his iPad some of the dailies from Mando, and that John Watts had pitched the idea of Skeleton Crew, and that Favreau was like, oh, you need a producer, huh? And then that was like kind of the way they got this thing going, which I think is pretty great. And yeah, I think, and it's pretty cool that this time they're promoting it as from the filmmakers from the Mandalorian and from Spider-Man, No Way Home.
Yeah, I love
Star
that.
Wars has never done. Star Wars has never dropped another franchise describing a director or a creator. So
they really want people to watch this, man. They really want people to watch this. So I see why, because if people see like Spider-Man, like, Homecoming and Far From Home and No Way Home, like that's going to be a big kind of tie-in, because those movies brought a lot of people in. So it would kind of be a mistake not to.
So Darth Beard is he's going against everything that we're saying.
Oh, okay.
It's gonna be very Amblin. I wanted to open like E.T., mysterious and dark with no info. Tell us the time frame of the next few scenes with screens in the school. Oh, I see. So yeah, you would have us have like a dark opening, very like, oh, what's happening? What's happening? And then we cut to school, and then he's in school, and then we.
I will say that was kind of like the really cool thing of those films, of where, if you watch the Goonies, if you watch E.T., like of those films, it would that would add the mystery to it, of where you would have your own imagination of what was really going on beforehand. I do understand where David's coming from, but also I'm going in with the same mindset as Darth Beard, where it's like this show is going to be like an 80s fun show. So I could see it doing that more than, taking it at the serious route, like how we all really want it to, where it's like on the same level as Mandalorian and stuff.
So,
well, it's going to be 80s. It's going to be 80s serious. That's what it's going to be.
I know.
A great opening is the Goonies, which is there's something happening and we drive by all the main characters and their daily lives, and that's how we get introduced to everybody. That'd be kind of fun. That's what I love about the opening of the Goonies. Is one of my favorite openings in a movie ever, which is that car chase. It's just each of them are doing their own thing. I could see that happening, but also I need for me to feel better for the everyone else, which I hate to say that. I want Lucasfilm to tell us where we are. And they need to tell us really quickly where we are in the timeline so everybody can be on board. And then, so if Mando and Grogu show up, it makes sense that they're there. If Ahsoka is mentioned or if Hera shows up, it makes sense. People are going to be confused. And like if Luke or Han Solo shows up, people are going to be like, oh, how is that possible?
Right. There has to be some type of new Republic involvement. We know this. Just because we've seen X-Wings in there. It's just on what level, because you're right. It has to make, to me, it has to be like a big level threat in order to bring these characters in. So someone or something has to, be there in order to bring these kind of big characters in. I don't think Mando showing up just to show up makes sense. Like, it has to be something, on a decent level where even Din Djarin and Grogu would show up. I don't think he would just show up to show up. Like, it would have to be like a big thing.
Or Bo-Katan shows up. Like, that'd be pretty cool, man. Katie Sackhoff's been just keeping it a secret this whole time. But anyways, what else you got for us, David? You've been asking us some really intense questions tonight.
So Jude Law has stated in interviews that his character has a female friend. Who could that be?
What would be a really, really cool Easter egg is there was a deleted scene from A New Hope of where Han Solo had a girlfriend and she was leaving. If it ended up being like Han Solo's old girlfriend from like that deleted scene from A New Hope, that would be a cool Easter egg.
Such a deep cut though, man.
I know, but hey, they actually did that in the book of Boba Fett because of when Boba goes to Tashi, when he goes to Tashi Station, you've got the two characters from that deleted scene from A New Hope that were there. So I could definitely see it happening. Yeah,
you're right. Who do you think, Dave?
So the first name that kind of jumped out at me, I had to think about the timeline, of course, was could he possibly be friends with Maz Kanata?
That would be a really, really cool Easter egg. That would also jump up the budget too. I think Mara Jade would be cool, but she's got a very, 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 very dark past. And I said very a lot because she is a very dark character. So that would be interesting because, she was the right hand of the Emperor. I would love to see Mara Jade. It'd be really cool, but I don't know if this is the story to introduce a character like that in.
But I mean, that none of that matters though, Colin, because that's extended universe, which they just pick and pull whatever they want and make it whatever works with right now with canon.
That would just be, I don't know. That would kind of feel random to me. Like for her to show up in a story like this, like it has to make sense. For example, Hondo makes sense in the situation. Even the Mandalorian and Grogu make sense because of you have the new Republic involved. But again, the threat has to be major. It has to be a big thing in order to do that. Maybe if they made Mara Jade the threat, maybe that might be the thing that would, that would get the involvement of the New Republic because they're like, we know who this is. She worked with the Empire. We need to stop the threat. before it even happens. So that's how I could see her introduction. But if her just to show up to me would just feel kind of random.
But Maz Kanata, David, is what a name you threw out, which
I love that idea.
He could go to Takodana as as a safe haven, to look for to stay low. Oh my gosh, guys, what if it's the lightsaber? Like, what if the whole plot of this movie is Anakin Skywalker lightsaber is the treasure? We have to get it to Maz Kanata.
That would be one of the most amazing things of all time. I am not even kidding, because that has been a story that's been happening for over 10 years that we never got.
That's the story. What if that's the
I even made a fan film. I even made a script for a fan film that explained that, because I was getting so upset that we haven't got an actual story of where the lightsaber came from.
Is the hand going to be included?
Well, in Legend, wait. In Legends, the way that the dark side version of Luke got cloned was because of they found Luke's hand and they put it like in this back to tank thing, and then they cloned it off of that. And then actually, I believe it was in one of the Darth Vader comics of where they go where Vader goes to Exegol. We see that hand just kind of sitting in a container. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but possibly, probably not. But I like the lightsaber thing. That would be awesome. That would be such a cool tie into everything, and that would be a great way to bring in Maz Kanata and tie it into the sequels, because that's a story that we have not known for a long time.
You know what makes me mad? And of course, Austin on YouTube just said, "For another time, now is the time."
Yes, that's awesome.
As we just came up with this plot, it's a great plot. That's probably not gonna happen, and we're gonna be so disappointed that it doesn't happen. But
you don't know, man. You don't know.
So cool though. That'd be the coolest thing. Yeah, it just hit me. I was like, "What if the lightsaber is the whole plot of this movie?" And they're faking.
I don't want it to be the whole.
Yeah, I mean, it ties it's a callback to them playing with the flashlights, thinking that they're a lightsaber.
They find something on their home planet, like they find something there.
Well, they find the Onyx Cinder, the spaceship, and then that's what takes them on their adventure, right? Assuming.
I don't think it should be the full plot, like the main plot. I think it should be like a side plot of maybe they are thinking that Jude Law's character is a Jedi, right? Maybe he's carrying the Skywalker saber. This whole adventure goes down. Near the end, Maz Kanata sees it and she knows what it is, and then she's like, I'll buy that off you, or be like, hey, you owe me one. And then that's how we get it. And then that's how he's been posing as a Jedi this entire time, and that's why the kids think that he's a Jedi. That would be
great,
cool.
Colin.
Yeah,
that's so good, man. Like, that's such a good show.
Yeah,
it's probably not going to happen.
I know, but still, that would be really, really cool.
Thanks, David,
I think
for doing that to us. You just had to say Maz Kanata, and it was like, oh yeah, and then my brain just went.
Introducing her into the mix, I think, would bring a lot of people in. I think because of even just seeing her on Star Tours just makes me so happy. Of just her character so interesting, because she's been alive for so long. She was alive during the listen.
We're laughing at Darth Beard's comment. That's crazy to reach the Morbid Jade.
Right, I know. But here's the thing. I don't think it is, because Maz Kanata is a space pirate. That makes sense. Mara Jade is she has a very complicated past that involves the Empire a lot. It makes more sense for Maz Kanata to show up. But yeah, no, she has had her own adventures in the High Republic. She was in the she was actually in the Young Jedi Adventures of that kids show. She was yes. So it's just like I would love to see her in the show. And then I know, but if they did the lightsaber thing, just think about that, of where they think that he's a Jedi because he's carrying the Luke Skywalker saber, like of the Skywalker saber, and then they go on this adventure. Maz Kanata gets involved. It's like it's in the last episode. She's like, I see that lightsaber. You owe me one. Let me take that. And then she, takes it. And then it's like, now it makes sense. Everything has been glued together. It all makes sense how she got it now.
Or she calls it to her, referencing the deleted scene from The Force Awakens where she pushed the stormtroopers away. She calls it to her and catches it, and then she puts it in the safe. And then she could even say something cool like,
Wait a minute.
Oh,
that lightsaber was in a treasure chest, wasn't it?
Yes.
I just got chills. Right now.
It all ties back to Maz Kanata.
Dude, I'm so mad right now that we thought about this because this is not the plot of Skeleton Crew. Like, this is 100% not the plot of Skeleton Crew.
What would be funny if people at Lucasfilm are watching and they're just like, okay, guys, we have to rewrite the whole script now because they just released the plot
these
of the
three
show.
guys just told everyone what the story is going to be about.
Yeah.
But man, David, yeah, you're right. It's in a chest. It's in a treasure chest underneath the castle. She puts it there for safekeeping. I don't know, man. This is pretty cool. Jeez. Now I'm really sad.
So out there on YouTube, Ken Collects Star Wars says, "Why are you guys doing a 10 ICCC?"
What is
my guess is that some type of convention. And what state is it?
Yeah, I believe it's in Tennessee.
Darth Beard just said, no, they're thinking, damn, that sounds so much better than our show. No, whatever. But here's the thing, and that's what gets some Star Wars fans in trouble, which is those theories you have and those ideas you have of what's about to happen. And when it doesn't happen, that's when you have those people on YouTube saying, "Oh, it sucks."
Yeah, no. I think it's a great idea. I think that would be awesome. I think it would it be a missed opportunity if they didn't have Hondo? Oh, well, okay, hang on. Hondo Ohnaka and Maz Kanata have a decent amount of history together too. Just saying. So having that happen as well would tie back into some other stories that have happened. So it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. It could make, that also makes sense why the budget is also high too, because they have to, because in Rise of Skywalker, Maz Kanata was a puppet. They could go back to the way they did it, but they also have to hire the same actress that voiced her and played her.
Nyong'o, which is one of the greatest actresses in the world.
Right. So that could also explain why the budget was so high as well. So, oh man. Okay, I think we're cooking way too much. I think we need to wrap it up, guys.
That was the next question I was going to ask you guys. Why does this cost so much? Is it purely CGI?
Yeah.
Or is it that they're having to actually travel to where they keep the archive stuff to bring back some, they have to go to London, or they got to go to England, they got to go, they're using the volume, right? The kids did say that there were some scenes where they were on.
Yes,
I think they're in London now. I don't think.
I think they did film a bunch of stuff over at Pinewood, but honestly, David, I think one of the reasons why the budget's so high is because they are going back to the Phil Tippett days of where they were using practical effects.
It is involved.
Yes, so right. I think So I think that is another reason why the budget might be so high, because doing practical effects now is way more expensive than it was back in the day because of not all of the materials and all that stuff is really easy to get like it was back in the day. So honestly, I
was gonna say, and then plus the guys who did it back in the day are very old now. The guys who knew all the secrets are retired. They're like, we're not just y'all did your digital effects, just keep doing them. But little did they realize that our generation would be like, we want that again. Give us the practical. I'm so glad Phil Tippett is still in the game, because he's he's like what, top 5 OGs of ILM, top 5. Anyways,
jeez, man, I'm getting way too excited. Jeez, oh man, god, jeez, man.
Say though, the visual effects from the trailers are top notch. They look movie quality. They look almost like Mandalorian's CG did. There were some shots in Acolyte that I was like, that's okay. That's an interesting choice for the visual effect there. But this one looks like they got it. So I think maybe that's where a lot of the budget went.
And surprisingly, we haven't seen any talk of them doing the first 2 episodes at theaters like they did for the Acolyte and Ahsoka for when they did episode 5 for Ahsoka. I'm kind of surprised. I mean, they spent all this money. It looks very cinematic. Put the first 2 episodes in the theaters. And if they do release that, of course, we're going to try and attempt to go to those screenings and kind of do out the theater reaction for it.
Absolutely.
Episode's going to be that big. Or the Daniels episode's going to be that
okay, big. So I like that you brought that up, James, because episodes 5 and 6, which are directed by Jake and Bryce Dallas Howard, apparently are big episodes from what we're hearing. But they're going to have some major impact.
And you also have to think most of the episodes that Bryce Dallas Howard, has done have been the episodes where someone big has been introduced on the Mandalorian and the other show. So it does make sense.
Yeah. Plus, she's just amazing. Like,
I
remember there was talk of her. Everyone was like, she needs to do a movie, which I hope still happens one day. But anyways.
All right. So we're gonna head right on into Skeleton Crew, just like every other Disney Plus show. We're gonna do a pre-show. A post show, and you guys can join us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and watch all the prognostications and aftermath of what we see for episodes 1 and 2. It's going to be a lot, guys. It's going to be 76 minutes worth. It's going to be a long. I'm going to have to go to sleep early and all that stuff. So, but we will be here. We'll cover it all. It'll be out on all your popular podcast apps, and it is upon us finally after all these years. We're getting the Skeleton Crew. And thank you so much to everyone out there joining us tonight, everyone in chat, all the way going back to Darth Ace 1, Darth Beard, of course, Austin, Ken collects Star Wars out there. And why we don't attend ICCC, it's a collector show. I know General Kenobi from Countdown goes, and it's like a big deal for him. We're not that big of collectors, but I mean, it's a possibility we might go. I know Colin goes to MegaCon and DragonCon, and probably soon be going to San Diego Comic-Con and
I'm excited for that one.
And there's a whole lot of conventions we attend, but ICCC is one of those that we don't frequent. We haven't been to before, but I have heard a little bit about it. But any more suggestions? Let us know in chat or the YouTube comments. Like and subscribe, of course. You can find us everywhere out there on all the popular social media platforms. So Instagram at SWSStuffPod, Twitter at StuffPod, Thread Star Stuff Podcast, of course Patreon. If you have the means to support us there, great. We're gonna do a lot of big stuff as far as like Japan goes with like swag. We ordered stickers. We're going to order some more pins. Also, we're on TikTok. You can email us directly at StarWarsStuffPodcast@gmail.com. You know who you are out there that need to email us to contact us. I'll just say that. Facebook, we have a page and a group, of course. We're streaming right now live on the page. And write us a review at Spotify and Apple. Give us 5 stars. Help us out. We also have a website, StarWarsStuffPodcast.com. And for James and Colin, my name's David. And may the Force be with you.
Always.
Colin, go write your Maz comic strip for the story before it's gone. Okay. All right. I'll just start writing.
Maybe.